Hi there, my name is Kimberly Inez Mays, and I help small and mid-sized businesses demystify tech and AI so that they can finally stop duct taping their systems together and start scaling with confidence. In this video, we're going to talk about data, but specifically dirty data. And what do I mean by that? Well, you may have heard the term data hygiene before, and it's not the most funnest of topics to talk about, but it's super important, especially in the world of business and AI and all of those things, right? Because I know that AI is the new kid on the block, the thing that is shiny and interesting, but without good data, it all falls apart. Data is the backbone of everything, and it is the catalyst by which a lot of businesses make decisions. But you can't make good decisions with bad data. So that's what we're going to talk about. And if you're thinking, well, I just run like a shop, I just run a professional services firm, I'm a realtor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a gardener, I have a landscaping company, I have this or that, it's still important. It's still important because if you offer professional services, you do need a place for all of your business data. You need a place for your contacts, your leads, your customers, your former customers. You need a place for payments, your invoices. You need a place for literally everything that you have going on in your business. And if you do any sort of marketing, you need a place for all of that stuff as well. You need to know what outreach efforts are most effective, what's working and what's not. And the only way you're going to know this is if you have a centralized location by which you're storing all of this data, and if you have metrics that matter, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you find this content valuable, please like and share, because sharing is caring, and I can't do this without you, right? Because not a lot of people are talking about data, and not a lot of people talk about it in the way that I talk about it. And I think a lot of times when people talk about data, it's from a very academic lens, and it's not really relatable. And I think that I make it relatable, right? Because data is just simply a spreadsheet, a sticky pad, a napkin, your memory. It's all data, right? Any sort of information that you store, it's data. And you need a way of organizing it, especially if you work with other people. And most importantly, if you work with other people. And we're going to talk about the ways that your team comes into play, because that's one way by which your data becomes really dirty, is if person A tags and catalogs data in one way, and person B tags and catalogs data another way. Person A leaves, person C gets hired, person C doesn't know what person A left behind, and person B doesn't know. And now, as a business owner, you have no idea either, and now you feel like you have to start from scratch. So I've seen this as well too. I've seen this a lot with companies that use VAs. I've seen this a lot with companies that use interns, assistants, and I've just seen this with the actual business owner themselves. Maybe they switch platforms, maybe they have just hired contractors. So we're going to talk about all of that. So let's fix the disconnect in the data. So first of all, what data is important to you, right? So let's define that first. What data is important to you first? At the minimum, you will need a CRM. And I used to be attached to a particular CRM. For those who don't know what a CRM is, it's a customer relationship management system or contact relationship management system. For those who are just like, I don't know what that really means, it's like a literal virtual Rolodex. The things that we had on our desk, like back in the 90s or early 2000s, the little flip books, or you can think of it like a virtual phone book. So you would have name, address, maybe who they are, where they've come from, things like that. You do need a place to store people, because you can't have people over there, people over here, people over there, people over here, because that gets very confusing, especially if you as a business owner need to ever delegate stuff to people. You can't have it all in your head. You need to be able to tell your teammate or your assistant or people that work with you or for you, like, hey, here is somebody that you need to follow up with. Here's the list. Here's the priorities today, or here are the leads, whatever. So you have to determine at the minimum that is important to you. So let's think contacts. What type of contacts? Well, there are different type of contacts. There are people that are leads for your business. There are people who are customers, people who are currently involved in a current project that you're fulfilling for them. Maybe if you're a landscaper, these are people that you're currently working for. Let's think of another type of business. Maybe if you're a coach, these are people who are currently enrolled in your program. And then there are former customers or former clients, people who have done business with you in the past. You definitely don't want to forget about them. Or there are people in your pipeline, right? Because some people fall in between. Some people they come back around. Some people may have bought your book, but now they are a good candidate for your group coaching program, or maybe they're a good candidate for, the next layer of service. Maybe if you've done landscaping for them, maybe they need another type of service. Maybe they need like repair work or some sort of maintenance. So you need to be able to track at every single stage where your particular client is. And the only way you're going to know this is if you write it down, if you map it out. And the way that you keep your data clean is if you, as a business owner, decide what is important to you to map it out and have it live across your platforms and be able to communicate and evangelize this across your entire network or entire team, as I should say. So you have your different contact types, all right? And then you have to determine your processes, because at the end of the day, you need to, in your CRM, you need to determine, okay, where are the contacts, but at every stage, there's going to be a process. And if you are investing in the right tool, then when they hit that stage, there's going to be a process. So the same process by which somebody becomes a customer is going to be different when there's a process by which they become a lead or a former client that is now eligible for some sort of maintenance service. So you need to know, okay, when somebody hits that stage, what is the next step? For example, let's take landscaping, even though that is not a particular industry by which I am super familiar with, but I do know that, okay, if somebody is cutting grass, for example, or, placing like hedges or, whatever, that if somebody is now contracted to provide that service, then there needs to be some onboarding. There needs to be some intake done to now start that project. And then you have to determine, what does that project look like? What are the prerequisites? What are the requirements for that project? What are the types of people that you need to fulfill on that work? And those people now need to be cataloged in your CRM. Those people are now your contractors, your staff, right? So your CRM is not only about your customers or your leads. These are your peers. These are your contractors. These are your staff. So you need to also understand, okay, well, who are they? Where are they? How can I get a hold of them at any particular moment? What are they working on? So you have to determine that data as well, so you can make a decision. Do I have enough bandwidth, or do I have enough capacity to take on this project and win? And the only way you're going to know that is if you keep your data clean. And so that is one stage. Maybe there's another stage where, okay, Miss Mays becomes eligible for maybe a retouch of some work that you've done for her, or whatever the case may be. I'm a former client. I fall into that bucket. Then now you need a salesperson to then go out and reach out to Miss Mays to then see if she needs anything, right? So now that salesperson needs to be cataloged in your CRM, because that salesperson now needs to understand, all right, where are the list of former clients, and when was their last service, and what are they now eligible for, what are their needs, and then if they work on commission, did they close, did they not close, who are they working on, what is the status of that person. So you can see that there's a lot of data that can be amassed in one business. And so if this sounds overwhelming, it can be. That's if you jump directly into a system without a plan. And this is why I don't recommend, I don't advocate for anybody to just hop on something because it sounds good, right? I don't advocate for any business to just say, well, we're going to pick this platform because it does 3,000 things in one, because the jack of all trade is usually the master of none. I tell people, like, okay, well, you know what? If you are working alone, you can get a sheet of paper, you can draw a box, an arrow, another box, another arrow, and then where in the process do people fall? And that's usually good for like more of a simpler business, like maybe a coaching business, or maybe a business of maybe one coach and a couple of like VAs or a small team. But for a larger business where you have several staff members, contractors, and things like that, I would probably recommend more of like mind mapping. There's also like more enterprise software and planning that you can use to really map this out to see like where people will fall into to place. But there's also whiteboarding. There's so many methods of like co-creation that you can then take and make an evaluation. Okay, what does the data need to look like, and what does the structure need to look like, so that everybody can be on board? Because when the data is not good, here's what it looks like: mismatched tags, naming conventions, mismatched stages, opportunities, and yeah, everything is just chaotic and all over the place. Too many custom fields inside of a platform. Everybody's making their own fields, their own tags, and then when you go inside the system itself to say, okay, well, give me everybody who had their lawn mowed in the last 3 months, you can't, because that is not something that is easily available. So therefore, if you want to hire a salesperson to do outreach for somebody who has had that service in the past 3 months, you cannot. So you can kind of see like where I'm going with this, right? There's a progression of thought that takes place when you need to organize your data. And the best time to do this is at the beginning, but I know that if you have a business, like obviously you're not at the beginning, but so it's like, what do you do? What do you do when your data is bad? You need a data cleanup. Well, this is something that I help out with as well. So we could take a look at it. We could take a look at the tags, the structure, the segments, the processes, the SOPs, and all of that, and then just unravel all of these knots and untangle the spaghetti and get everybody on board and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do from now on, and these are the naming conventions. These are the systems by which we're going to create new fields, new tags. These are the processes by which we're going to create new automations and new emails or whatever have you, so that everybody's using one unified structure. And then once you have that structure in place, then you're able to see KPIs, key performance indices. You're able to make those decisions. You're able to do so much more, and then you'll be able to sleep better at night too, I think. So that is really the crux of it. I can go more into like a lot of other things, but yeah, you can't make just good decisions with bad data. You can't scale with bad data, really. And it's just really hard to do that. And so yeah, so while AI is a new kid on the block and there's a lot of more interesting things I could have talked about, that is the foundation. Because really, when it comes to AI, garbage in, garbage out. So you have garbage data, you put that into AI, you're going to get pretty much garbage out. You know what I mean? And so I have a way to kind of evaluate if your data is good or not, and that is the AI and Systems Scorecard. It's an assessment. It's a 5-question assessment, basically, but you'll kind of see which bucket you fall into. It's the frame it, build it, run it buckets, where frame it is where you're sort of just starting out, but not really starting out, but you're starting out evaluating some systems and some tools and procedures. Maybe this is where you're kind of ideating what direction you should go into next. Maybe you're taking a step back. Build it is where you're really getting your feet wet. You're getting your hands dirty. You're like, all right, I'm going all in. I'm going to make a change. I'm doing a switch up. And then the run it is where you're going to scale, because now it's already working. It's already gelling, and maybe you want to integrate a few things, maybe you want to just polish a few things. But no matter where you are, there is a solution, there is something that is for everybody. So yeah, that is going to be posted in the description or the link or the comments or wherever this is posted, right? Because I'm posting it everywhere. So yeah, take that. That is my free gift to you. And yeah, can't make good decisions with bad data. Keep that in mind. And yeah, clean up your data. That's all I got to say about that. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Share if it was valuable, and I will speak to you next time. That is all I got to say about that. All right. Bye.